Hey, 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 everyone. Jeff C. here. Hope you are all doing well. It is Monday, November the 18th, and man, have I got a crazy video for you. And considering all the crazy videos I've put up recently, including the crazy Rob Ford, the crazy train of Rob Ford, which never ends. I think the people of Toronto like that one. But this one's actually a wonderfully crazy piece of Americana. Only United States. Well, perhaps not only United States, but this really is quite the story. Here is a mother who is driving with 5 kids in a minivan and is pulled over for the police for going 70 miles per hour in a 55 mile per hour zone. And I have to do the conversion here because here, if we're on the highway, we have a maximum here of 100, but you can go about a 120. You go over 120, you're taking a chance they'll pull you over. So it's pretty much the same, I guess, right? That's probably the going speed. Correct me below if I'm wrong, those of you who live in this part of United States, which is New Mexico. So we're going to look at this video off CBS, and I'm going to show this sequence of events in which this woman disregards the orders of the policeman and drives off instead of waiting to receive her ticket, and then is pursued by the police, and the situation just escalates beyond control. So I'll come back after this sequence is through and offer my comments.
Police officers are under investigation this morning after one opened fire on a minivan. A mother and her 5 children were inside. The shooting happened last month after a traffic stop turned into a high-speed chase outside of Santa Fe. Bill Whitaker looks at newly released video of the confrontation.
Earlier, you're doing 71 back there and a 55, okay?
39-year-old mother of 5, Oriana Farrell, is pulled over for speeding by a New Mexico State police officer just north of Santa Fe. The officer's dash camera captures the encounter.
I'll be right back. Go ahead and turn the vehicle off for me.
But Farrell drives off instead. The officer pursues and pulls her over again. Emotions escalate.
Get out of the vehicle. Get out of the vehicle right now. Get out.
Farrell doesn't budge, but her 14-year-old son jumps out. He retreats when the officer pulls out his taser.
You're already facing evading charges right now. You ran away from me, okay?
Finally, she gets out.
Turn around and face your vehicle.
Then appears to ignore the officer and struggles to get back inside. Out comes her son again. This time, he scuffles with the officer. He runs back to the car. The family is locked inside. The officer smashes the window with his baton. As Farrell drives off again, another officer arrives and fires at least 3 shots at the van, with the 5 children inside. After a 10-minute high-speed chase, Farrell finally stops. She and her son are arrested. In court, the DA charged Farrell with 5 counts, including child endangerment, resisting arrest, and reckless driving. Her son was charged with battery. Farrell's attorney said she was scared. The judge called this video disturbing and puzzling. The 2 officers involved are under investigation. In a statement, New Mexico State Police Chief says if the investigation determines that the officer improperly discharged his firearm in this case, we will take swift action because improperly using a firearm isn't tolerated by the state police.
That's pretty crazy, right? And it's one of those things, I mean, I've seen this so many times in my life where, situations really, they just got out of control. And this woman did everything wrong. I mean, there's no doubt about it. She is not thinking with a full rack here. She's missing a few marbles upstairs. First, she disregards the police. She drives off when he tells her to stay put. Then when he pulls her out, tries to handcuff her or at least stop her, she runs back in the car and peels off. Right, so she's doing everything wrong, right? She's making the situation much worse. And then, of course, the police go Dirty Harry, and they start shooting at a van full of children. Now, of course, the son coming out there, that is also pretty stupid on his part. But he's 14, right? And who hasn't done stupid things when they're 14? The women made these situations, the women caused the whole thing to escalate. But then the police kind of went, as I said, Dirty Harry on her. I think probably the smashing of the windshield and the shots fired after. I mean, the shots fired afterward, at the bare minimum, are excessive, right? If I can just get to that point there, where he's smashing the side window. That's a little bit. That's for me. That's going overboard for sure. And I can understand he's not enjoying this. Maybe he is. I don't know. But this guy here firing at a van full of children, he probably should never have the opportunity to fire a gun again. Because what are you going to prove? And if you think of all the things that can go wrong here, he's shooting at them. First, he had one of his other officers that was right near the car, so he could have hit him. He could have hit any of the children in the car. He said he was trying to hit the tires, but a moving vehicle is very difficult to hit accurately. So something that's peeling away like that, you're not going to have a good chance of hitting those tires. And even if you did, you could send this car careening into another. It doesn't appear there's any vehicles at the moment on this highway here. But you could easily make the situation. You could send the car off into a ditch, and it could everyone could die. And for what? Right? For a 71 mile per hour, a 16 mile per hour violation, basically. And as I said, I mean, here in Montreal, if the speed limit is 100 kilometers, which is about 60 miles per hour. And if you do 120, if you do over 120, they'll ticket you. If you're doing 124, 125, you got a good chance you're going to get a ticket. But if you're going around 119, 120, generally they won't pull you over. I know this. I've done a lot of driving. So I think it's kind of the same here. And so if this lady was pulled over first for just being a mile or two faster, well, then maybe you gotta wonder if there might be a little bit of racism on the cops' part. I don't know. They're a black family, obviously, right? But this is a really, this is not a one-sided sort of thing. This is very complex. And, I mean, I see a lot of these stories all the time with the police overreacting, going crazy. And it's one of the things, I mean, I've had it happen to me on a few occasions with police, and I've been in a lot of fisticuffs and stuff when I was younger, so I'm used to dealing with the police in many different areas. And there's always the one or two guys, or it's usually one out of a group of 5 or 6 that is, there's something wrong with them. They're the psychopath, right? And psychopaths really do go to the police. They really go to these sort of bureaucratic administrations because they can get power, right? And if as a police officer, there's a lot of power that you have immediately on people. If you're interacting with people, you can literally do what you want. I mean, you'll have to face the consequences afterwards, but police officers have a great deal of power within our society. They could just pull you over and arrest you. Now they're supposed to give you a reason and all that. Of course, this lady had several reasons to be arrested for violating the commands of the police, which I don't think they did anything wrong, except perhaps maybe they should have just taken it a little bit more easy. You know, maybe they should have read the situation a lot better, and that makes you wonder if a lot of these police officers are just poorly trained to handle these types of situations. I mean, really, the police should be watching all these videos. If you're instructing police and you're a professor or whatever, you're teaching them and stuff like that in some sort of police academy or college or whatever that they're getting courses in, showing these types of videos would be a good way to educate a lot of the officers that are out there, because there's a real problem in the United States with violence amongst. It's the same thing here in Montreal. We've had tons of violence, especially towards blacks. I mean, there's a lot of racism here. There's a lot of racism everywhere. So I don't know if this is any sort of indication that this event was caused by racism. It might have been because, as I said, the family was black, and perhaps the officers that were made the decision to do the pullover in the first place saw the black family and said, well, we're going to pull over these people because they're black, even though maybe several other people are going at the same speed. But it's negligible, right? And so, maybe they have a quota, and that's part of the problem. They have to pull over so many people a day. I don't know. It's a very complex sort of thing, but there's no doubt that the women did several things wrong. I think in the end, though, the police really mishandled this. They should have acted a lot more professionally. Cooler heads could have prevailed. They could have just called for backup and then eventually used 3 or 4, say, vehicles to get her cordoned off the road and then deal with her with, if she acted up then you have to use the force necessary to make the arrest. I think it's a good idea, though, that a lot of these, or all of these cop cars, I think they should all have these dash cam cameras, because it's great for us as citizens, because then we can feel safe that anything they do to us, at least if we're in front of the car, don't know if they have one in the back or on the side, will be recorded. And generally police do pull you over from behind, so usually if you're in a vehicle and you're being arrested, you're going to be on their dash cam. But there's so many disturbing ones that I haven't touched, and a lot of times I don't touch them because they're just too, they're too depressing to look at. When you see someone beaten into a coma or beaten to death, and it's just another day, with a psychopath on the police force. And all it takes is one. I mean, that's the one thing from my experience, is there's always one guy. They're always seen every time there was an event, and a lot of times I dealt with the police and had no problems whatsoever. But other times, there was always one guy that had a problem that was, not like the other cops that were there, and he was the one that would be reaching for the gun or using physical force or reaching for the handcuffs instantly in any sort of situation. And that is a problem. I mean, we need our police to be better trained. We need them to, act with more civility. I like to tell the story when I talk about police, about the police officer I knew that worked the downtown beat in Montreal, and for 30 years he only pulled his gun once. This is one of the busiest streets, the busiest street in all of Montreal. Walked that beat for 30 years and only pulled his gun once and never fired it. So, there has to be cooler heads. When you have a cooler head, they know how to deactivate a situation or prevent a situation from becoming potentially lethal, like in this situation. I mean, if you're shooting out the tires, even if you were shooting out the tires, you could send that car that's speeding off into a rock, going at 70 or 80 miles per hour, or off a cliff, or into another vehicle, or whatever. What does that solve, right? If she's not endangering other people, then you have to be able to deal with the situation better. And that's just my point of view. I'm not here to bash the cops. I think the women, did everything wrong to begin with, and then the cops just were showing how poorly they are, perhaps mentally, in dealing with these types of situations. And I know it's hard to put yourself in that situation. It's obviously stressful for the cop when he's trying to get the women to do what he wants her to do, and she keeps trying to get away from him, and then the son comes out and starts physically altercating himself with the cop. So it's not so, obviously this cop here, I don't think he was all that bad. I mean, smashing the window, that's a little bit too much. But the other cop that was firing, that's the problem. That guy could have killed a lot of people, this guy here. And unfortunately, this is a reality with all our police forces. We all have these dirty, hairy wannabes at best, and at worst, the psychopaths, right? Who are definitely in uniform. A lot of them are in uniform, and they go in the military too. And anywhere they can advance, they go into banks all the time too. So there's always I'm not saying this guy's a psychopath. He might just be watching too many Die Hard movies or something. I don't know. Eating too many Twinkies. Anyways, it's a really interesting thing to talk about. I think it makes for a good debate. I don't think there's any total right or wrong in this situation. There's a lot of wrongs, but I think the probably the weight of what happened should be on the woman's shoulders. But this guy for firing at the end, I would put him on desk duty. You know, he looks like he'd be better at a desk anyways. He's kind of big. Anyways, leave your comments below.